So day 11 out of 30 of the content creation challenge. And this is take 7. Today I have started with a couple of different topics I was planning on talking about, and none of them have actually worked, and all of them have just kind of had me stuttering, or I've been interrupted. And so it led me to this different idea of, what do we do when our plan doesn't work? Now, to talk about this, I'm going to talk about one of my kids' favorite Bible stories, and that's Jonah. Now, she primarily likes it because there's an asparagus that tells the story very, very well. The story of Jonah is very, very unique because it starts off with somebody who's following God well. This prophet of God who's telling people from town to town, going and sharing the different messages of what God wants to say to them. And then all of a sudden he receives the message to go to Nineveh, this sinful, terrible, broken place that he doesn't have any compassion for. He doesn't want to tell them the good news that God can redeem them and wants them to stop doing the bad that they're doing. Wants no part of that. So he decides to come up with a new plan of his own. And that new plan is to board a ship and go to Tarshish, which is basically one of the farthest places that you can go away from Nineveh. So he gets on this boat and he decides to start going towards Tarshish. And God responds by causing a ginormous storm. And so Jonah, seeing this giant storm, kind of goes, that's probably not good. And then the crew decide to cast lots, right? So they basically play a game of chance to figure out why the storm happened, who caused it, and it lands on Jonah. So again, probably not according to his plan, right? His plan would have been hide in the shadows, don't let it be me, it's fine, it's probably my fault, but we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about it, that's fine. But it falls on him. And so they decide, well, gotta do something. The sea seems pretty angry, so sacrifice! And they chuck him over the boat. And granted, the Bible talks about how they specifically pray of, hey, don't let his blood be on our hands, but we gotta do something here. So this is what we're gonna try. And then they chuck him into the sea. And now Jonah, who's sitting in open water, watching the boat that he just paid to take him somewhere slowly go away, probably wondering what in the world the plan is now. Well, that plan decided to meet him rather quickly, because very shortly after he was thrown overboard, he's swallowed up by a giant fish. Now, some people say whale, some people say shark, some people have no idea because it's not specifically mentioned. But a giant fish of some sort, some large aquatic creature, just went, and Jonah's now inside. So Jonah's sitting there inside of this creature of the deep, and I have to wonder if at some point he thought to himself, my plan sucks. But knowing my own tendency, that probably didn't happen. Because if he was anything like me, I would have seen all of this happening to me and gone, ugh, man, why am I so unlucky that everything that I was trying to do just fell apart? Well, maybe it's because you're running away from the thing that you're actually called to do. Maybe it's because you're not actually following what God said. But no, knowing myself, and potentially if Jonah was anything like me, the first thought would be, this is actually happening to us, not because of our own choices. But anyway, 3 days in the whale, God gives Jonah another chance, says, go tell Nineveh about the problems. And Jonah finally agrees. Whale spits him up, throws him onto the beach, and he decides to go to Nineveh, as he was told. Everything seems to go fairly well. He walks into town, tells them, hey, stop it or else. And then he leaves. And the city changes. The city repents. The city decides, you know what? What we're doing is wrong. And we're going to stop doing that now. So you would think that this would be a big celebratory moment, right? But it still wasn't according to Jonah's plan. Jonah decided to walk up the mountain nearby, hang out there, and sit and wait for the city's destruction. I mean, talk about sharing the love of God, right? So he just decides, I'm going to sit and wait and fire, brimstone, giant avalanche, like whatever you want to do, smoke this place. And God looks at him and says, well, it's not what I want, but okay, if you're going to sit there, I'm going to take care of you. And he provides a plant for a little bit of shade as Jonah sits there and judges a city that God has already decided has been forgiven. So Jonah sits, waits, and eventually the plant breaks and dies. Again, not according to Jonah's plan. And we're left with the end of the story of Jonah just basically whining there on the mountainside, saying, how could you make this plant die? It was my friend. And that's it. That's the end of the story. Jonah successfully did what God asked him to, but still didn't fall in line with the bigger plan that God had. Time and time again, Jonah decides to do something contrary to God's plan, and it just constantly keeps falling apart. But he can't let go of what he sees as right. He thinks that Nineveh doesn't deserve the message, decides to run away. He thinks that it's better off if he just dies by getting thrown into the sea. He thinks that, oh yeah, I'm toast now. I'm inside of this whale. Fish. Don't yell at me. And it's over now. Oh yeah, well fine. I'll go take the message to Nineveh, but Nineveh can't actually be redeemed. Oh, now that I'm sitting here and waiting, I deserve a little bit of shade, and now that it's gone, woe is me. And over and over, he loses the perspective of what is actually good and exchanges it for what he believes is good, what he believes is right. Now, for my own story, I was called to make content that glorifies him. And I was called to tell the story of the church. But when I don't pursue that, it's very similar to what we talked about yesterday. When I pursue things that aren't what God has actually called me to, even if they're good things, they don't fulfill me the way that God's plan will. They don't sustain me and take care of me the way that God's plan will. So when things don't go according to plan, what do? The fallback that I have always had, I don't always listen to it, which is dumb, but the fallback that I have always had is that when my plans don't fall through, is to trust a God who is bigger than me, smarter than me, and understands more than me to take care of the details I can't. God is in control. And there are verses in the Bible that talk about all things working together for good to those that love God. And a lot of people use those to say, oh, everything will work out to be good. But really what we need to understand is that everything will work out to what God needs them to work out. It's not that everything will be good for me. It's that all things, good and bad, right and wrong, will ultimately work for his greatest design if we continue to pursue towards him and we continue to trust in that plan. There are moments that are so hard and will suck. They're terrible moments. I know. But those moments will lead to good. And the promise is that God will walk with us through all of it. When things don't go according to plan, trust that God is working. It might not be obvious, it might not be easy, but trust that he's working to come up with something better at the end of it all. Because just like today, when I couldn't get through the first few topics I was trying to actually record, this is the story that he wanted to say for today. And I can trust him that this is what's going to make an impact. Thanks for joining on day 11. I will see you on 12.